if we were to outline the mechanisms of how one's body fatness relates to energy levels, what would you say are the key mechanisms at play there?
I would argue that the fundamental mechanism involved is the promotion of a state of chronic low-grade inflammation, and that it is through this mechanism that other aspects either then feed into that inflammation, for example, sleep disruption, or that mechanism itself, the low-grade inflammation, is what causes things like mitochondrial dysfunction, which then amplify fatigue. But I would argue kind of the centerpiece with obesity is being in the state of chronic low-grade inflammation. And I guess the reason that I believe that is because we have numerous studies in a bunch of different pathologies: cancer, type 2 diabetes, chronic fatigue syndrome, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and even people that have dysbiosis of their microbiome. Studies that associate fatigue severity with the extent of inflammation they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, even in people that don't have chronic low-grade inflammation, whatever amount of inflammation they do have is an independent predictor of their level of fatigue. And so then you have investigations and you have questions to ask, okay, so then if this link exists, how does inflammation cause fatigue, contribute to fatigue? And there's really three main ways that does it. One, it alters neurotransmitter and reward pathways in your brain, which controls all behavior. It causes mitochondrial dysfunction, and it disrupts sleep, which then feeds back into it. So this first one's the most important because this is the one that comes from our evolutionary history, okay? It's something called sickness behavior. So a lot of you listening probably have a pet, or at the very least, you've witnessed this with yourself or a family member, because whether it be one of our pet animals or, another human, it occurs all the same. And what happens when you experience some form of physical trauma, like you injure yourself, or you get an infection like the flu or the common cold? What happens to your energy levels? They disappear, right? Like you just naturally get more fatigued. Your animals move around less. You just want to kind of stay in bed, or, you can't really work like you would prefer and you just mope around the house. And that's called sickness behavior. And it's the result of inflammatory cytokines from battling an infection or working to heal an injury and fight off any pathogens that are trying to get in through the injury. Those cytokines pass through the blood-brain barrier and bind to specific receptors on the brain that cause this alteration of your behavioral state that is called sickness behavior, where your brain then just kind of tells the rest of your body, hey, we're gonna, we might have a fever, we're not gonna eat, you're gonna demonstrate some symptoms of anorexia, we're kind of just gonna waste away with a little cachexia, we're gonna be fatigued and lethargic. And that's because we need to take literally every resource we have and focus it on healing, regeneration, battling pathogens, that type of thing. So, and we've had this throughout evolutionary history. Inflammation hits your brain and causes you to be fatigued for good reason. But that was always short-lived throughout evolutionary history. And that the number one reason why being overweight or obese.
Well, actually, before you jump there, just why was it short-lived? Like, just explain that layer so people.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so short-lived because if you injured yourself, that wound is going to heal. And if you got an infection, then either you resolved the infection and you were no longer sick and you went on to continue your life, or you died. It wasn't like something that just stuck with you forever. Mm-hmm. But now in the modern environment, people with overweight or obesity have a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. And that means that they have elevated levels of inflammatory cytokines that enter into their brain and give them a kind of subclinical form of this sickness behavior.
Mhm.
where they become more lethargic and fatigued because their brain thinks that it needs to divert resources elsewhere, when in reality, the individual just needs to lose a little fat mass.
Right. So it's basically it's the equivalent of if you had some kind of chronic injury, um, you had a gash open by some kind of wild animal that attacked you, and now you're healing this wound, and you have elevated levels of systemic inflammation as a result of that. And instead of that wound just healing in a week or two and then you getting back to normal, now you have that chemical milieu in your bloodstream basically all the time on an ongoing basis. So your brain's getting the signal, you need to rest because we need to divert, energy to healing what's wrong in the body. But I was going to say nothing's wrong in the body, but that's also kind of a misnomer. Something's wrong. It's just not something that sort of heals on its own easily.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You summed it up perfectly.
Hey, this is Ari, and if you enjoyed this little clip, I highly recommend checking out the full-length podcast by clicking the link down below this video in the description. Check it out. You're going to learn a ton more valuable information. Also, as always, I want to mention at the Energy Blueprint, we offer a ton of solutions to help you increase your energy. And as a side effect, help you prevent disease, dramatically improve your brain function, your mood, combating anxiety and depression, increasing your resilience to stress, and increasing your longevity. All nice bonuses to strategies designed to massively increase your mitochondrial function and your energy levels. And we've got a whole suite of products, online info products that guide you on strategies to optimize your lifestyle and nutrition habits. We've got an Eat for Energy course. We've got a brain course. We've got an advanced fat loss strategies course. We've got a breathing for energy course, which I highly, highly recommend. People just absolutely rave about that one in particular. And we've got a whole suite of supplements, mitochondrial formula, a brain formula, energy essentials and superfoods, which is our comprehensive multivitamin and multimineral and superfoods formula. So thank you for watching this. Again, full length link to the full length podcast is down below. And check out theenergyblueprint.com for our whole suite of products that can help you dramatically transform your energy levels.